All right, it's time to launch Microsoft Office OneNote 2007 and get comfortable in our surroundings. In this lesson, we're going to tour the user interface, talk about a few terms you'll need to understand as we move through the lessons in this title. Now, here in the Windows Vista environment, there are a number of different ways to launch the application. First thing you may have noticed is I've got a shortcut icon here on my desktop for Microsoft Office OneNote 2007. This shortcut is not created by default for you when you install the application. I had to create this myself. I'll show you how to do that momentarily, because if you plan on using OneNote on a regular basis, it's not a bad idea to have easy access to it here on your desktop. So double-clicking this icon would launch the application, but I want to show you something else that happens by default when you install the application. Is down here on your taskbar in the very far right-hand corner, you'll notice an icon in the notification area. And as I hover over it, it says Open New Side Note. That's the default when I click this button. It's going to start a new side note. We'll talk about side notes later on in this title. But if I right-click this icon and see the pop-up menu, you'll notice I've got other options, including Open OneNote. I also get to see keyboard shortcuts, yet another option for launching the application. If you're one of those people who likes to use the keyboard, holding down your Windows key plus the Shift key and the letter N simultaneously, you will launch OneNote. There's the default up there. It's bolded, Open New Side Note. And the shortcut for that is holding down your Windows button and the letter N. This will open a new side note. We'll talk about side notes later on. You can also do other things like start recording audio. You can store audio in a notebook in OneNote. You can also store screen clippings. You can create a screen clipping right from here. Windows and the S key on your keyboard together will launch that. You can access options, even remove the OneNote icon from your notification area if you don't want it there, all from this menu. I don't want to select anything, so I'm going to click here on my desktop to close that up. Now, of course, the traditional way to launch any application in Windows is to go to your Start button. So I'm going to come down here to the Start button, give it a click. Now, if I wanted to browse for OneNote, I could go up to All Programs here and start browsing. But I prefer to use this little field at the bottom, Start Search. You see my cursor flashing there anyway. I'm going to click just so it's clear. And I'm going to start typing OneNote, O-N-E-N. That's about all I need. And right at the top under Programs, I see Microsoft Office OneNote 2007. Right there, ready to go. I see another application, the Screen Clipper and Launcher, also accessible, we saw from that notification area icon. But this is what I want right here at the top, Microsoft Office OneNote 2007. So I'm going to give it a click to launch the application, and there's the default. This is what you see when you launch OneNote for the very first time. Now, just before we start touring the user interface that you see here, let's go back down to that Start button. Give it a click. I'm going to type in OneNote again, or at least start to type it. And I just want to show you how to create that shortcut. Instead of clicking Microsoft Office OneNote 2007, you can actually drag it over to your desktop, but I want you to drag it using the right mouse button on your mouse. So I'm going to click and hold my right mouse button, move up to my desktop, and when I let go, I've got some options. I can copy that icon here, move it there, or check it out, create shortcut here. Clicking Create Shortcuts here does create a shortcut to OneNote. Now I've got two of them, but that's okay. I like to use this on a regular basis, so that's easy access to OneNote from my desktop. Okay, back to the application. I'm going to click on the window to bring it to the front. Here we go. Just like most other applications, you've got certain areas you'll be familiar with, like title bars and menu bars and toolbars. So let's talk about this entire screen here. First thing I'm going to do, though, is maximize this. Right now, it just fits perfectly. This is the default size and location for OneNote when you launch it. But if you want to be able to see more of the notes and the pages in your notebooks, you might want to go over here to the top right corner where you can minimize, maximize, or even close the entire application. By choosing the Maximize button, it will fill your entire screen. So by doing that, you can see I can actually see more buttons on my toolbar. I can see more information down below in the page that's viewed by default. And I've got easy access to the different areas of my screen, and they're a little bit easier to look at. Okay, let's start at the very top, our title bar. OneNote Basics shows up here right at the top because that's what you see down below in the default notebook that opens up, which is our OneNote 2007 guide. Now, this notebook opens up by default. You're on a section called Getting Started with OneNote, and you're on the very first page, which is OneNote Basics. And that's why you see that up here on the title bar. So no matter what the notebook is, when you open it up and go to a section and go to a specific page, you'll see that page up here. Really helps you remember where you are in a notebook. And you can see it's Microsoft Office OneNote up here at the top as well. Now, just below the title bar, like any other application, we've got the menu bar, File, Edit, View, all the way across to Help. And we've got this extra button here that we're not accustomed to seeing on most menu bars. This allows us to see a full page view. You want to get rid of the menus, want to get rid of the toolbars, and just be able to focus on the content in a notebook. We'll talk about full page view later on in this title. Now, of course, under each of these menus are commands. If I click on File, I'm going to see File commands. These all relate to working with a specific file, like creating a new file, opening an existing file, saving. We've got printing down below, syncing, and exit, which is the same as clicking that close button in the very top right corner of your title bar. Under the Edit menu, Edit commands, View commands. Sometimes you'll see commands that have arrows to the right, like Pages Changed Recently. And over here, you see a side menu. Notice down below for toolbars as well. I've got the ability to view different toolbars. Toolbars with check marks are currently being viewed. I'm on the standard toolbar, and just to the right of the standard toolbar is the formatting toolbar. Both of those right here, but I can turn on any of these right from the view menu just by clicking them. We'll talk about that later as we start using some of these tools. You'll also see certain toolbars appear automatically depending on what you're working on. So as we move across these, you'll see an insert menu with insert options, formatting options, sharing. There's tools. We've got a table menu all by itself here, window, help, and there's that button for full screen view. Now just below the menu bar is our standard toolbar that we saw there from the view menu. And the standard toolbar has a number of commands represented by buttons that are maybe more often used than others. So for example, you're going to see the New button here, which is something you'd normally find under the File menu. Then you've got an Email button for sending emails, printing, and Print Preview. These all appear under the File menu. So they're shortcuts to things that you would find under the menus, but if you use them more often than some of the other commands you'd find on the File menu, you've got easy access to them here. Editing commands like cut, copy, and paste. You'll also see little shortcut keystrokes in the pop-up that appears as you hover over these buttons. Kind of neat. For example, the Undo button is Control-Z, and there's Redo. Then we've got tasks, we've got tags, there's clip, so copy part of the screen to a OneNote page. You've got insert table, of course. If we went to the table menu, we'd find insert table there as well. So the standard toolbar does have a number of shortcuts, more commonly used commands. The standard toolbar, like any toolbar, can be customized as well. If there's certain buttons here you never use, you can remove them. If there's certain commands you use more often than others and they don't appear here in the standard toolbar, you can add them. You can even create your own toolbars if you want. Here's another toolbar over here to the right-hand side where I see a font size. I see bold, bullets, I see font color. I've also got a highlighter here. These are all part of what we call our formatting toolbar. And if I go back up to the View menu and down to Toolbars, you'll see, you may recall, the check mark next to Formatting representing that toolbar. So if I click on Formatting, I actually remove it, so it's not visible, but it's still there. All I have to do is go back to View, down to Toolbars, and click on Formatting to get it back. Just like that. All right, now the meat and potatoes of OneNote. In OneNote, you create notebooks. Within a notebook, you create sections. Within each section, you can have multiple pages. So down here on the left-hand side is our navigation bar. Here you'll see any open notebooks, and it happens that I've got 3 here open by default. The default one that's being viewed currently or selected is the OneNote 2007 guide. So this one's selected. If I wanted to switch to a personal notebook, I could click here. And this is a sample personal notebook with some information about how to create your own personal notebooks. If I go down to Work Notebook, you'll see as I click on it, I've got tabs across the top, various sections, meeting notes, projects, research, travel, and I get information down below on how to create a work style notebook. Let's go back up to OneNote 2007 Guide. Here I'm going to see information under Getting Started with OneNote about OneNote Basics, how to create notebooks and tabs. How can OneNote help me? You can see as I hover over the right-hand side here where I see the pages in this section that I get the titles showing up here as well, gathering screen clippings and how to organize notes and so on. As I click on a tab or a section, I see the pages in that section. What else can I do with OneNote? Check out the pages over here. Lots of options. Researching, drag and drop. There's a calculator, OneNote Basics. Lots to choose from here, and as I hover over those tabs, I see the title for that page. So to break it down, every notebook has a name. You'll see it over here in the navigation bar. Within a notebook, you can have multiple sections. They appear as tabs across the top. And sections can have multiple pages, which you'll see over here on the right-hand side. Now just clicking a page will take me to that page in that section. Clicking a tab will take me to that section. And of course, clicking a notebook over here in the navigation bar takes me to that notebook. You may have noticed at the top of the navigation bar that I've got this double arrow where I can expand the navigation bar. So we've talked about notebooks having sections and sections having pages. You can see a lot more by expanding the navigation bar. Here now you're going to see the name of the notebook and the sections down below. So you can go to those sections just by clicking them here. For example, if I want to quickly go to recipes under a personal notebook, I could come down here and just click on it. It takes me to that notebook, to that section, and that's what I see over here on the right-hand side in the display area. Of course, we can minimize that or collapse the navigation bar by clicking those double arrows that are now pointing to the left. Once you do collapse it, the arrows change to point to the right if you want to expand the navigation bar. Same goes for the pages. I'm going to go back to OneNote 2007 Guide, back to Getting Started with OneNote, and over here where I see pages, I can create new pages or go to existing pages. And over here on the right, you can see I can collapse the page tabs. So now I'm seeing less of the page tab itself. I still see the full title as I hover over those tabs, but it allows me to see more of the content on the page here in this display area. Clicking the double arrows pointing left will expand that page area so you can see a little bit more of the title for each page. Now down in the bottom left-hand corner, you've got a couple of additional buttons. Down here, you'll see unfiled notes. So notes that you create or import, maybe from an email message, for example, or something that's been converted to text, may sit there in an unfiled notes section. If you want notes to be brought into a notebook, it's just dragging and dropping. We're going to do that later on. But just so you know, you can have just notes lying around that don't belong to any specific notebook section or page, and this is where you'll find them. So clicking this button shows me that I don't actually have any unfiled notes. Now just below that you'll see all notebook list, and this is an option or the ability for you to see all the notebooks that are open. Currently I only have 3 open and I can see them all here anyways, but when I click this button down at the bottom you can see I get an additional view here. So there's my OneNote guide. There's my Getting Started with OneNote section. There's another notebook called Personal, and there's the sections below. There's my Work notebook. It has multiple sections, so I can go directly to a section just by clicking it. So it just pops up temporarily to allow me to go to a specific section in a specific notebook. You may prefer to do that as opposed to expanding your navigation bar. Either way, you're going to get to the same spot. It's just a matter of preference. All right, so that's our user interface. Now as we start moving through the upcoming lessons, you should be feeling comfortable in your environment. When we go to create new notebooks, you'll know where to look. New sections, you'll know where to look. And pages within those sections, you'll know where to look. And of course, later on, one of the best features of OneNote is its ability to find things quickly. We're going to be using this search area up here at the top right corner to search through all your notebooks for whatever you type in there. It's going to locate it quickly and allow you to move to that section quickly. It's all coming up as we move through the upcoming lessons in OneNote 2007.